What is up, people? It is MewMonster58 and welcome back to another video review. Today we are going to be taking a look at the Transformers Studio Series, Transformers 1, Deluxe Class B-127, otherwise known as Bumblebee, as he appeared in the very recently released fully animated film Transformers 1. And so if you'd like to actually hear my thoughts on the actual movie itself, I will provide a link in the description to my review of just me talking about the movie. There's a spoiler section and a non-spoiler section, so for those of you who wanted to see it, who haven't seen it, or those of you who have even seen it, want to hear my thoughts on the movie as a whole, you will find that in the description below. But again, purely that is just my thoughts on the movie as a whole. Now, although I wasn't a big fan of the actual character of Bumblebee in this version and continuity of Transformers, I will say I did like how he looked. I thought the design was very well done, and so that's very well emulated here in this figure, and we'll get into that as we talk about it more. But the one figure obviously we're missing is Alita 1, and she doesn't release until a fair bit later into the year, which still doesn't make sense to me because you'd think that they would release all of these figures sort of relatively near one another, given that they're all main characters in the movie. But what are you going to do? It's a Hasbro thing, right? But taking a look at the box here, we can see the Transformers Studio Series. You can see the nice Transformers 1 logo, B-127/Bumblebee, transforms in 18 steps. You do have some nice artwork here of Bumblebee. You also have some, Transformers Studio Series. You see the Deluxe class right there as well. On the flip side, you can see the same artwork that we saw, B-127 Bumblebee, Transformers Studio Series, Transformers 1 right here on the bottom, and then your obligatory product shots. You can see some of the accessories already. Like I said, transforms in 18 steps. There's a screenshot of him in the movie. Sorry, I have a little arm here that prevented me from bringing the box in. It looks pretty good here. And so when it comes to this box, as per usual, I think Hasbro kills it with the packaging. And so without further ado, alright everybody, here we have the Transformers Studio Series Transformers 1 Deluxe Class B-127, otherwise known as Bumblebee, out of the box. And getting into it, I really do like how the vehicle mode looks. Now, there are some accessories attached to it, which we will get into right now because they are decent vehicle mode storage, except really for this one gun here. Now, this gun really isn't a Bumblebee gun. This is more used by Optimus. I would consider this more Optimus's Ion Blaster in the movie, even though it's not technically his Ion Blaster. I would consider it more of his Ion Blaster, and so this is an accessory I'm more likely just going to give to Optimus. You do have a peg hole right there on the side, and then you have the big peg right there on the side, and you can just plug it into either side of the vehicle mode. As you can see, some peg holes on either side. So either way, but it still looks kind of ridiculous and it looks stupid. So we're going to set this off to the side, but what I will say, molded in detail is pretty nice. It is one color, but it does look pretty nice. It's pretty accurate to the movie as well. The other vehicle mode storage is for his knife hands, as he said in the movie, or his actual guns as well. So you can see these look pretty good. These pieces are also separate, the actual knives. So then there is a peg hole there, and then these have the pegs here, and then you can just slot them in like this. But yeah, they look pretty good. I do like the blue. Nice little molded in detail on these as well. And then the silver for the guns looks really, really good. Overall, when it comes to these little accessories, they look pretty, really good. And I'm very happy with how they are. However, it's not quite accurate because obviously he didn't have the knife hands with the guns in the actual movie. To my understanding, it's probably one of those things where they had some concept art and they just went off of that instead of the actual movie, and they had to make the figures before they made the movie. Just like they did with like Transformers Rise of the Beasts, right? Like there's some very much like there's figures that they had to go off of concept art, like for like Optimus Primal, before they actually saw it in the CGI, so they couldn't make it direct to the CGI. So very similar situation that if I had to imagine. But these accessories, very nice, very well painted, look pretty good, and they actually have some really solid integration. But taking a look at the vehicle mode, it looks really, really accurate. It's really, really good. You do have the nice molded in detail. Now, the one thing that the movie got across with this vehicle mode, it was very smooth, very rounded, very smooth, kind of like a teardrop in my opinion. But when you look at this, even though it does still retain that smoothness, you do have some really nice molded detail across the board. Like you can see here at the top of the car, some nice blue here to break up all that yellow. It's really nice despite the fact that even though he's mostly yellow, there's enough of this dark metal, gunmetal gray here to sort of break up all this yellow, and it looks really good and very accurate in my opinion to the movie. Like overall, really, really solid. Pinned on wheels is always a plus. You can even see some nice molded in detail here on the wheels as well. Overall, when it comes to the vehicle mode, I really don't have any major complaints. There is one, however, that I do, and that is this part. Now, these are his legs, and for some reason, mine just, if you can see, they just don't like plugging in together very well. Now, I don't know if anyone else has this issue, but it's certainly a QC issue, and that's a bit of a shame. So, overall, though, when it comes to Bumblebee here is really good, and like I said, pinned on wheels allows him to roll really well as well. So overall, when it comes to his vehicle mode, as you can see, very, very nice, very, very accurate, nicely painted, and some solid detail. So we're going to do a size comparison, so we're going to set Bumblebee off to the side here. Alrighty, folks, here he is with the Transformers Legacy United Deluxe class Infernac Universe Magnus. As you can see, Bumblebee is of a correct size, very average deluxe size. Can't really complain about it. Pretty much the same girth here. You can see very, very similar there. Similar from the top as well. You can see they're pretty close in size. So overall, when it comes to the sizing of this in comparison to a regular deluxe, Bumblebee fits right in. Alrighty, here he is with the Transformers Studio Series, Transformers 1 Deluxe class Optimus Prime. And as you can see, these two scale together very well as well. And despite the fact that Bumblebee still was technically the smallest, Autobot in the movie, he also was, the relatively similar sized in comparison to Megatron, into Elita 1 to Optimus Prime. And so this is pretty accurate to my knowledge. Optimus is still a little bit bigger, a little bit longer, but overall, they still relatively maintain a size very close to one another. Bumblebee is a little bit smaller, but that works. Here he is with Megatron, same thing. Megatron was a bit bigger. Megatron and Optimus Prime are closer in size than they are with Bumblebee, and so this obviously puts that into perspective, and it's pretty well sized. Like, I have no major complaints with this, and they look pretty solid together. So, again, no complaints coming from me. And finally, folks, here he is with the soon-to-be reviewed, the Transformers Studio Series Transformers 1 Voyager class Sentinel Prime, the main villain of this movie. And so when we're looking at this, it looks really, really good. Obviously, Sentinel being a Voyager class figure is going to be significantly bigger in comparison to Bumblebee, but he's not even that much longer. But where you can definitely see the change is the girth, and you'll also feel it in the actual weight of the figure. Bumblebee does feel really solid, and the plastic quality is very nice, but at the end of the day, Sentinel Prime is just a step above that, and that's, good given the fact that, obviously he is a Voyager in comparison to Bumblebee being a deluxe figure. And so overall, when it comes to the sizing, I think this is just fine. Alrighty, folks, and time to get into the transformation. And the transformation really isn't all that bad. And so first thing I like to do here is to come to the arms. You can unpeg those like so, and then you can sort of accordion them like so. Then you can take this entire section, which is going to be the bottom. You can fold this down once on this joint, and then you will rotate the legs down. To do the legs, it's very simple. Rotate these around. You can see there are peg holes there, and there are pegs right there. You just peg those in and slot them in like so. Rotate the foot down. Same thing here. Rotate that, plug it in, and then rotate the foot down again. And then there's literally the bottom half of the figure basically transformed. Now, I can probably zoom out a bit, and then just go up a little bit so you can see. And this part's a little annoying. This is the most annoying part of transformation. So basically, you have to push this down, and this little part here will flip up, and you can see a little tab there. You can see that little hole right there. And then this is supposed to come down here. You got to kind of push the head. And this is again the most annoying part. Like that. And then this will plug in like so. And you can raise the shoulders up. Then for this section, you take this, you can just fold it in. And then essentially just rest that like that. And that'll essentially peg right into place. And then from here for the arms, you just gotta flip up the forearms. You can rotate the fist out. Close the fist back up. Or the forearm back up. Open the forearm up. Rotate the fist out. Fold the forearm back down. Oops, let me just rotate that like there. That's basically it. And so, ladies and gentlemen, here we have the Transformers Studio Series Transformers 1 Deluxe class B-127 / Bumblebee in his very amazing looking robot mode. And so overall, when it comes to the actual aesthetics, the proportions, the height, everything about this figure is absolutely spot on. I think it's really, really well done, especially when you look at the actual Deluxe for the main line. Now, the Deluxe for the main line actually isn't bad at all. It's actually a pretty solid figure, but it's misproportioned in some areas, and in addition to that, the legs don't look all that good. The legs here look really nice. They're very filled in, very smooth. And see, they look very well painted, very nicely detailed. The head sculpt looks fantastic. You can see the nice chest looks really solid here. It's very well proportioned. The back is also extremely accurate and very clean. There's no backpack at all. And when it comes to just his height and everything like that, he just feels correct. So taking a look at the head sculpt here, you can see the head looks really, really good. I mean, look at that. The silver for the face, the blue for the eyes, the nice molded detail across. You even have the nice little gunmetal gray for like his side of his cheeks there. Really, really cool there. Nice blue, obviously, it carries over from the vehicle mode. Nice gunmetal to gray to break it up. Detail going here throughout the rest of the body. I mean, it looks really nice. Again, like I told you, the legs also look fantastic. The crotch piece looks great as well. Overall, very nicely painted. Very nice detail. Like, there's nothing really about this that I can complain about. Like, genuinely, like this figure, in terms of its robot mode, very little things to complain about. Overall, really, really good stuff. And so, let me show you the accessories since we're here and doing this. So, all you got to do is you have that little peg there, and then you can just peg this into his hand. So you can easily hold the gun that he didn't really use. Obviously, Optimus used it more often than not, rather than he. And then to plug in the guns, now the way that you do it is that whatever is facing on the outside, that's the side that it's on. So this will plug in like so. This will plug in like so, and obviously you can remove the knives and stuff like that, you know, for the blades. But overall, that looks really, really solid. I really do like how those accessories look, and they're very well integrated. It looks like it's just a part of his hand. It looks like the classic, like, you know, back in '08 or '07 when the first Transformers live action movie came out. It was cool how Bumblebee's hand could just turn into his gun, and so they really carry that over here, and this looks really good. And like I said, it emulates that very well, and that's sort of how Bumblebee's guns have been going for the past several years, ever since '07, past 18 years. That's ridiculous to say. But since '07, they've been really sort of giving him guns that are just a part of his hand. He can just transform his hand into a gun, and they carry that over here, and it's pretty well done. So, what we're going to do here is we're going to zoom out a little bit because the other characters are a little bit taller. So we are going to set Bumblebee off to the side here and do our size comparisons. Alrighty folks, here he is with the Transformers Legacy United Deluxe class and Infernac Universe Magnius, and so when it comes to the size comparison between these two, you can see that they're relatively the same size. Again, Bumblebee is that average deluxe size, and so when we're looking at these two, I've really nothing to complain about. Same thing as in vehicle mode. Alright folks, here he is with the Transformers 1 Studio Series Deluxe Class Optimus Prime. As you can see, this is where the size differences start to come in. Now, despite the fact that both of these are deluxe figures, you can see the significant size difference that Optimus has in his robot mode over Bumblebee. But this is accurate. You know, Bumblebee being Bumblebee, he's always the smallest character, one of the smallest characters. And so amongst the four of them, you know, Megatron, Optimus, Elita 1, and Bumblebee, he was obviously the smallest, but that ends up working out here. Despite the fact that they're both deluxes, and then their vehicle modes are relatively similarly sized. You can see here that the size difference definitely is apparent here, but it still works out, and I think it's really nice. And obviously the same thing with Megatron here. As Optimus and Megatron meet eye to eye in the figure form, you know, Megatron's obviously always been bigger than Bumblebee. We can never argue that. But yeah, you can see here these two look also very nice together. Again, like I said, vehicle mode, obviously you can see a little bit of that size difference, but this is where you see that size difference more apparent, and that is very accurate to the movie, and it works out here. Alrighty folks, and finally here is the last comparison we are doing with Sentinel Prime. As you can see, Voyager versus Deluxe, obviously there's a size difference. Obviously Sentinel's a bit bigger than both Optimus and Megatron, but they're relatively still similar in size, and so this works out here. I think Sentinel didn't tower necessarily over anybody like someone like probably Megatronus would have, but when it comes to the actual sizes here, obviously Sentinel should be bigger. He was bigger in the movie, is bigger in vehicle form, is bigger in his robot form here as well, and so this ends up working out. Alrighty folks, it's time to get into the articulation, which is really solid for a deluxe figure. So head is on a ball joint, so you can do full 360. You get a little bit of down and not really up, but you get a little bit of down. You can do full 360 with the shoulder, 90 degree at the elbow, rotation here at the bicep, and nothing really technically in the wrists unless you're using that transformation joint. But yeah, not too bad there. You do have a full waist joint, which is really nice to see, like that. You can kick forward about that far. You can kick back about that far. You have 90 here at the knee. You have a rotation at the upper part of the knee as well. And you have some ankle rocker. Now, you can't quite do, like, the craziest splits, but you can do some pretty solid splits regardless. So you can get some pretty solid poses out of this guy. Not the most amazing articulation, but it is the standard of what we have accepted today. And so I can't really complain too much about that. Alrighty folks, in time for the reverse transformation, which really isn't that bad. Again, my only issue is with that QC of the legs tapping together, and so let's get into it. So first things first, let's remove the knife hands as well as the guns. Take the forearms, and you can open those up, and then you can rotate the fists back in, plug those back up. Do the same thing here. Open up the forearm, rotate the fist back in. This one's a little tighter than the other one, and then fold that back in. Then what we can do, straighten out the head and then fold this upwards like so. And then what you're going to want to do with the back here, unfold this area as well. It's a bit annoying. probably want to do the back first. That's my apology there. You probably do the back first here like that, and then fold this up. My bad there. Make sure you fold that up as well, and then you can just sort of plug this up together like so. Head can stay like this. Then you can rotate the forearms outwards so that the gray bits here are facing the outside of the wheels. Take the legs. What you can do here is you can already actually plug this up together, plug in the legs as well, and then all you got to do is, I like to take this simultaneously, rotate these down like so. Fold the feet as well, like that. Plug this all up. Then what you can do is you can take this waist, you can fold it so that this is all flush like this, then rotate the waist up, and then plug that all in together. And this is the hardest part right here. So obviously you're trying to get this all plugged together, and this, like I said, for my copy doesn't exactly like to plug in together very well overall, but it's doing the best it can. Then what you want to do is, you see this little gray bit here, you want to try and shove that in here. And then what you can do is, you can see there is a little tab here, and then it's hard to see. I don't know how well you can see that, but there is that little hole right there is where that little slot goes into. And then you can see that there is a tab hole also right here, right there. And then you have a little tab right here on the inside of the forearm. And so what you got to do is, you got to line this all up. It's a bit annoying because, again, this doesn't like to stay in. Just make sure you push that forward. Same thing here. So on this side, plug this in. Fit a accordion in. Come on. Working in here. There you go. Like, oh, come on. Like that. There we go. Goodness me. It took a minute there. Would not line up correctly. Plug this all in. Like so. And once you have everything lined up. Doesn't like to. Yeah. Like that. Make sure everything is plugged together like that. Everything is lined up correctly. And ladies and gentlemen, here we have the Transformers Studio Series Transformers 1 Deluxe Class B-127, otherwise known as Bumblebee, back in his very good looking vehicle mode. Alrighty folks, for my final concluding thoughts on the Transformers Studio Series Transformers 1 Deluxe Class B-127, otherwise known as Bumblebee, this is a really solid figure. This is a really great deluxe, and overall, when it comes to this, I have nothing really to complain about all too much. My only major complaint is the QC, but getting the good out of the way, because there's not much to talk about the bad, vehicle mode looks really good, really accurate, very nice paint, very nice detail, overall feels really nice too, the plastic feels great. Transformation is very simple, but not too crazy. Nothing too frustrating either. Just a couple of little bits here and there that can get annoying, like clearance issues and whatnot. But overall, that's pretty solid. When you get to the robot mode, same thing carries over from the vehicle mode. Nice detail, nice paint. Head sculpt looks great. Articulation's also good. And even the accessories are good. Vehicle mode storage, despite the gun not storing really, really well, like the big gun that he's given, not storing really nicely, the knife hands do get stored pretty well. You know, the knife hands plus the actual guns themselves look really, really solid. In addition to that, articulation, while not amazing or anything, is very standard, very solid. Like, I don't really have anything to complain about on that end either. Like I said, the only complaints I really have are the QC, some of the clearance issues when you're transforming, and maybe getting things to peg together in his vehicle mode, like on his arms. But other than that, pretty solid figure, and I can highly recommend it. Now, I would give this a 9 out of 10, not perfect, but not even close to being a bad figure. And so I believe, yes, I got mine IRL, so I definitely would say take a look at your retailers right now, like your Walmarts, your Targets, and stuff like that, because this guy's more than likely hitting up those stores, so definitely be on the lookout for hunting IRL. I definitely wish you the best luck in doing that. But if you do want to do the regulars, I would recommend obviously going to Big Bad Toy Store, go to Hasbro Pulses with Amazon. Links in the description to all those, so you guys can pick this guy up if you do so wish to do so online instead. And so that'll be a trend for the next bunch of figures, is that most of these figures, funnily enough, for once in my life for a while, I've actually gotten a lot of these figures IRL, and so that's nice to see. And so I think that's really it for the video review, and so I thank you guys so much for taking the time to watch this video. Please like, comment, rate, and subscribe, and share this video with your friends. Also follow me in the socials. Those will be linked in the description below. And with that, guys, and once again, thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video review, and I'll catch you on the next one. Hope you guys have a wonderful day. Peace.